If somebody asked you, what's the highest peak in Europe, you'd probably think about the Alps and Mont Blanc. And you'd be wrong. It's actually Elbrus. Although it's located in the Caucasus Mountain range, which straddles the border between Europe and Asia, the location of Elbrus has definitively been confirmed by geographers as European, which also makes it Europe's highest mountain. As such, it's also one of the 7 summits, however it's only the 5th highest in the group, only ahead of Mont Vincent and Mont Kosciuszko. Standing at 5,642 meters, Mount Elbrus is far from the hardest mountain to climb. However, adverse weather conditions and altitude sickness can make your summit attempt very difficult. And with that out of the way, let's go to Russia.
Mind the gap.
Perhaps now will be a good time to go over the plan. Day 1, having arrived in Terskov the night before, we're now ready for our first acclimatization trip, which would most likely be climbing to the top of Cheget Peak. Day 2, we use the lifts to get to the barrel huts and go on a small trek up to Priut 11 and back. Day 3, we move from the barrel huts to Priut 11 and take a hike up to 4,500 meters and back to Priut 11. Day 4, we make another hike, this time up to 4,800 meters and then back to Priut 11. Day 5, summit day, we wake up at 2 a.m. for a 4 a.m. start, trekking for 10 hours to the summit and then another 6 hours back to Priut 11. Day 6, we go all the way down to Terskov and celebrate our achievement. Overall, it's a solid plan with plenty of acclimatization treks and 2 days to spare. So really, what's the worst that could happen? So, good morning. We're now in Russia. We're at the base of the mountain and we have some negative developments already. It's gonna be raining for 3 straight days. So now it's Saturday. The forecast is to rain until Monday. So the plan was today for us to walk around, but as you can see, the weather is just not going to allow for this. We wouldn't risk it. We wouldn't want to get our clothes wet just before we start climbing. Another thing, the forecast for the summit is good for Wednesday, but only Wednesday, which means that we have to just keep going as scheduled. After Wednesday, the weather on the top wouldn't be good enough for us to climb, so let's see what's around here, I guess. So as far as the plan goes, we're not up to a good start. The bad weather prevented us from getting any acclimatization hikes, but instead we got a thorough brief from our guides. It went something like that. You know, when you take something as harmless as vitamin C, there are a bunch of nasty side effects that could happen as a result. Well, it turns out that climbing Elbrus, although relatively easy, comes with its own leaflet of side effects. They go something like this. Crampons could cut your trousers and your shoes, and if you're especially unlucky, you can even slip and break your ankle. The ice axe could hurt your face in case you fall and use it to stop yourself from sliding. Getting stabbed in the cheekbone, however, is still better than falling into a crevasse. Altitude sickness would most likely hit us with a cocktail of headaches, nausea, dizziness, high blood pressure, and swelling. And finally, during our final ascent, there is an area at around 5,000 meters where if you slip, you'd probably... It got real quiet after that one. Stopped for the trip. 3 bottles each. So, all good. You want to be the star again? Thoughts at the beginning? Come on, you gotta be used to this by now. diesel camp in sight. As you can see, we made it fairly quickly to the barrel huts thanks to the 3 lifts we took from Azal. It might not seem like much, but we actually gained about 1,800 meters in altitude. And if you're wondering where the summit is on this map, it's right here, almost 2 kilometers higher than the barrel huts. Now, let me give you a quick tour of the camp. There are 9 main barrels, each sleeping 6 people. There are also several other structures around the barrels, some of which is where the guides sleep, and some which serve as kitchens. The toilets are breezy, and they're affectionately named the House of Pain and the House of Horror. Personally, I've seen worse, but do be prepared. Proper accommodation with the Russian flag and all. First class accommodation. I gotta say, it looks much better than I expected.
Yeah, it's much better.
It's like brand new. Look at that door, man. Fancy. And also, this bunker comes with toilet paper. Do we have electricity? It looks like we do.
Yeah.
Looks like we have electricity.
The lights.
Awesome. Yeah, unfortunately weather is bad, so we're not gonna do any acclimatization walks today, most likely. Just sitting indoors and reading Ahmed's book.
I'm gonna read out loud so
Everyone can appreciate
it. Have a book and educate themselves.
Everyone who doesn't have a book, who shall remain nameless, can appreciate it. And maybe we can watch the World Cup if they have a TV somewhere there. First meal on site, pot noodles, of course, with some tuna. Yeah. Super foggy outside. Time for lunch and a quick nap because I'm dead. The altitude is really getting me. When I stepped out of the 3rd lift, carrying both my bags, I felt lightheaded. So definitely feeling the effects of the altitude. Hopefully in the next 3 days we can acclimatize so that we can do this thing. Right. Fortunately for us, we did find a working TV in the local cafe where they were playing the World Cup. Oh, nice. We ended up watching the final at almost 4,000 meters altitude, which is a personal best that I'll probably never beat. Whoa! So we watched the game, we had some food, plenty of water, and we headed back to bed. The thing is, however, getting to such high altitude in such a short period of time comes at a price. Like I said earlier, altitude sickness hit us, and it hit us hard, with headaches, nausea, dizziness, high blood pressure. Morning number 1 on the mountain. It's so bright outside. I need my glasses. Probably slept like 6 hours, maybe. Still have a headache. Put my t-shirt upside. Today we moved to the 2nd camp. I don't think we're gonna be walking too much, but it's just this altitude sickness. I'm really feeling the symptoms. Headache, nausea. Let's just hope it gets better. You guys ready?
No. Still no.
Loading the luggage on the snowcat, and then we walk. Huh?
You clever.
Why?
Because someone need.
That's big.
There was a guide, Russian guide, told me that he did a snowboard from the top.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was kind of looking forward to doing this climb.
Please don't talk about me when
our second camp. I don't know what it's called. What's the camp called? Do you know? Priute 11. Originally built as a small hut in 1929, it stands at 4,050 meters. Today the camp consists of several container shelters, one of which serves as a kitchen. It's Priute 11. We just got all the luggage up from down there. And we made this emergency shelter. Fantastic establishment. Anything you want to say, guys? No?
No.
No words? My actors are always so difficult to work with. So there were some Russian guys who asked Ahmed if he wants them to break the lock of the shelter. Because apparently the guys who has the keys comes at 1 o'clock only. That's like 2 hours away. But we said no, we're gonna chill. In this weather, it's nice. So yeah.
12 seconds later.
This is what it looks like. As you can see, we gained another 300 meters in elevation, and again fairly quickly. At this stage my altitude sickness was quite acute, and I was eager to go on a hike and get some exercise to at least get a feel of what the final day would be like. Fortunately for us, the weather was fairly good when the rest of the group made it to the camp, so I finally got to do some hiking. Sleep like a baby tonight. So cold. So cold. So this is it. This is where we spent our first night in Priute 11. As you can see, it's a lovely, lovely place. It's just gorgeous. Let me shoot this before I forget. First night at Priute 11 shelter. Very, very challenging. Very cold, windy, noisy. Made me appreciate everything I've got back home. That's it for now. After the tough night, I was very low on energy. And due to the altitude sickness, I had no appetite either. So I headed out on our final trek before the summit on an empty stomach. I think this will be the last view of my climb. Probably not gonna make it tomorrow. It's just too much. After 5 long hours, I made it back to the camp. I was exhausted, cold, and in pain. At that point, there was no doubt in my mind. I won't make the summit. Later that day, I made my way back to Tersko.
What?
Okay, so given that I wasn't there for the final day, I don't think it's right for me to talk about what went down. So instead, I asked my friend Ahmed to tell the story from his point of view.
You caught me by surprise when Sylvie told me that you left while I was sleeping. I was like, what the f? I did not expect that coming, especially given that you were actually pretty good on that day, right? When we did the acclimatization hike. But yeah, I woke up, you're not there anymore, you left me your poles. The weather calmed down a bit, so there was like a really, really beautiful sunset, so that's what you missed. And then the next day, man, the summit day, man, it was bad. I woke up feeling like again. The headache just wouldn't leave me. It felt really bad, but then after I got the breakfast and I took another pill, it kind of eased up a little bit. Yeah, and then we started off, but it was super windy. It was windy as hell. Basically, the forecast said that it's gonna be about 7 kilometers per hour wind, but it was I think like 50. That's what the guide said. So it was terrible. Like I saw people going down like from other groups around 4 or 5, and then the lady from our group turned back down around 5, so like 2 hours in. But we still had hopes because we thought that once the sun comes out, it's gonna be a bit better because it's gonna be warmer. But then the sun came up and it didn't really get any better. And the guy just told us like, look, at this pace it's dangerous because we're not gonna make it to the top. It's just no point for it. So then we contemplated a lot, but then eventually we turned back down. One of the hardest decisions in my life. Like I was literally crying because like you do realize the amount of training and like effort and money you've put into this trip, into the whole climb, and then you have to go down because you're not fast enough. So I was kind of blaming myself. But I think like 2 hours after, we saw that the rest of the group got down, like the guys who were faster than us, because it was just too hard. The wind, that was the main problem. I mean, it was, I think, around minus 10, 15-ish, I don't know. But with the wind and the snow, that's the killer. Like I did get a frostbite on my nose. Then there were some other people in our camp. Someone in their group had a severe frostbite. So yeah, sad story, yeah.
So to recap, Elbrus proved to be a difficult mountain, and none of us made it to the top. However, we will be going back at some point. I hope this video was helpful to you because God knows it took me ages to make. If you'd like to see more of the same, please leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.
It's so difficult to make these films interesting whenever I go hiking or anything like that, because it's mostly filming rocks.
Yeah.
Rocks and paths
Snow.
and people walking. It's
I think
big
that's
effort.
more interesting if you can film also the snow melting or something like that.
The snow, filming the snow melting.
We had to do that. It was a true survival camp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.